So we all know that season 6 isn't exactly the most beloved of SpongeBob seasons. It's one of those seasons that kind of everyone agrees is trash. Now, it might not be everyone's least favorite season, but I have never seen anyone having this as their favorite season, and it most often ends up being in like the bottom 3 of tier lists when it comes to the SpongeBob seasons. But today we are asking the question, is season 6 of SpongeBob really that bad?
Hey!
So we talked about season 4 and did the top 10 best and worst of the season. Then we did season 5 with the best and worst of that season. So I think it's time to stop beating the dead horse that is season 4 and do what people want to see instead. Now, season 6 is the last season I watched any of growing up. It's kind of hard to remember now that I have rewatched it multiple times, but I'd say I saw like maybe half of these episodes growing up. And I have just been all over the place with season 6. When I watched it for the first time, I was too young to see something as bad, so I watched The Splinter like 20 times. But when I first rewatched the entire show, more than 10 years later, I thought it was like pretty bad. Then, when I started watching SpongeBob YouTubers, I kind of ended up seeing it as the worst season, just because that's what others told me. Now, I had binged this show in a pretty short time span, so I probably didn't have the best perspective, because coming back to it, I'ma be honest, it's not even that bad. I rewatched this entire season over these past few months, and honestly, this season is kind of the same as season 4 and 5. Now, shout out to Bored Binge Watcher, because he commented pretty much this exact thing, and in my reply, I disagreed with him, and like 1 hour later, I realized he was right. Like he said, tonally, this is just a continuation of the previous seasons, as it's just a duller version of pre-movie, with a bit more focus on the story. I won't speak on seasons 7 and 8, because I will do that when I have watched through them, so I won't have to contradict myself. Now, quality-wise, season 6 is a bit different, because season 6 has more bad episodes than pretty much the 2 previous seasons combined. Choir Boys is terrible and one of the worst Squidward torture episodes to date. And if you want some diversity in your Squidward torture, you have Giant Squidward, Slide Whistle Stooges, and Cephalopod Lodge, which all just kind of end up being redesigns of Good Neighbors. The Splinter might be one of the most disgusting episodes of the show, but when you get to Pets or Pests, you wish you were looking at that pus-filled thumb. This season has some really gross imagery, and Pets or Pests has the grossest imagery in the whole show for me. This episode deserves way more hate than The Splinter in my opinion, because I can't watch this disgusting mess. Now, when it comes to Squidward torture, like I said, this season has well, a lot. But these episodes for the most part is just exactly what we got in seasons 4 and 5. Like yes, there are more of them here, but if you have seen Good Neighbors, The Thing and Breath of Fresh Squidward, these 3 episodes are just the same thing. I'm not trying to make the case that season 6 is better than 5 or 4, but come on, it just has a little bit more of something bad that the other seasons already had. And this season has Suction Cup Symphony, which is one of like 2 episodes in the whole show that actually gives Squidward a really good ending. I have so much respect for this episode, to be honest. The Card is one of the worst Patrick episodes and one of his least funny depictions, but in many other episodes this season, Patrick shines. He is my favorite character, and except for the bad squid torture episodes, as well as a couple of other ones, he is all around good this season. Patrick plays a good sidekick to SpongeBob in episodes like Suction Cup Symphony, Krusty Crushers, Professor Squidward and Toy Story of Doom. And he also has episodes that focus on him more as a main character, like No Hat for Pat, which is a great exploration of his character. Chum Bucket Supreme is also a great example where he has hilarious chemistry with Plankton, and Life in a Day, which really is an iconic episode that people still like, even though it's from season 6, so that's saying something. Comedy-wise, it's pretty much the same as the previous seasons. The style of comedy is very similar to seasons 4 and 5, and while this season has no Krusty Towers, because that is the like only really funny post-movie episode, in my opinion, you kind of get the same stuff that most season 4 and 5 episodes would give you. Patrick is pretty funny, Squidward and Plankton have some good lines, and the other characters will occasionally have something funny to say, but usually most scenes don't have that much actual jokes. Now, specials has never been the show's strong suit. Even pre-movie has some of its weakest episodes being specials, but honestly, season 6 is okay when it comes to specials. Now we have 3. The Clash of Triton is bad. I don't like it. But then we have Spongebob versus the Big One. This is a really underrated special in my opinion that I have a video coming about, I think. I like it a lot and think it hits kind of all the spots a post-movie special can. Then we have Truth or Square, one of the most hated episodes of the whole show. This special isn't bad. It's not good either, but as I see it, the Patchy segments are pretty bad and the Spongebob segments are pretty good. It's mid. Now, I get that the reason that people hate this episode is because of how it was marketed, and while I get that people are angry about, being clickbaited by a SpongeBob special, as someone who never saw the ads for this episode growing up, I kind of can't put that into my assessment of the actual episode. It's just a very meh episode in my opinion. So with one good, one meh and one bad special, it's just a bit worse than season 5, but it's not touching season 4, which, just like the second season, went 2 for 2 with specials. I'm not trying to say that season 6 is as good as either 4 or 5, because that's not what I think. I think season 6 is the worst season of the first 6 seasons, but if you enjoy seasons 4 and 5 and for some reason have one of those as your favorite season, I don't see how season 6 can be the worst thing ever. It's not a good season, but all of its bad qualities were already here before the season even aired its first episode. Post-movie SpongeBob is gross, has Squidward torture, and is not very funny. And that is pretty much what this season has problems with, although these things might be a bit more prominent this season. Like, I get that people find season 4 funny. Like, I can see why, I guess. But to me, season 6 is about as funny as season 4, maybe a bit less, but it's not like a crazy decline in my opinion. If season 4 is a 7 and season 5 is a 7.5, which I think is how I feel about those seasons, season 6 is like a 5 or something. It's not the worst thing ever, and it's not as bad as people make it out to be. But I personally would never call season 6 a good season, and the few episodes I really enjoy from this season won't save it from being a very mediocre season? Well, that's about it. I have no idea what I'm doing for next week. I'm pretty burned out right now. Got a lot of things with work, but I'll see y'all next week. Thanks for watching.